Um, okay, let's see here. Jordan Freeman asks, in the early days of Mythbusters, you were seen smoking on camera. Have you gone cold turkey or do you still smoke? I do not smoke cigarettes anymore. No, I quit about 15 years ago. I smoked from the age of 17 until about 15 years ago, on and off, like 2 years on, 2 years off, 2 years on, 2 years off. I would quit. I quit many times, as lots of people have said. Quitting's easy. I've done it hundreds of times. I quit for good 15 years ago on a trip to Hawaii. My wife and I were newlyweds. This wasn't our honeymoon, but it was an early trip, and I had never been to Hawaii. And so we went and we stayed in a beautiful rental in Kailua on Oahu, famous for its powdered sugar sand beaches. And we got to Hawaii and promptly came down with viral bronchitis that sent us both to the hospital. And we spent 10 of our 12 days in Hawaii in a bed watching Law and Order marathons. And I have never smoked again. I tell a lie. I smoked 2 cigarettes since I quit smoking. One with one with Maureen McCormick at a Disney party where I was super, super, super drunk. And the second one was backstage at the Punchline with Dave Chappelle. I went to see Chappelle play his long, like 17-night run at the Punchline shortly after he had disappeared from the world. And he did this long run at the Punchline. I got tickets. My wife and I went, and we met him afterwards, and he was super, super gracious. And he offered me a cigarette, and I was like, damn, Dave Chappelle offers me a cigarette. I'm going to smoke that cigarette. It was terrible. It was a terrible thing. I don't crave smoking anymore. The smell is perfectly fine to me. If I smell it on the street, it doesn't bother me. It neither induces in me a feeling of craving or repulsion. I'm somewhat neutral to it now. What I did leading up to quitting smoking was a very careful practice of not wishing I could quit smoking, but of really like just thinking about every cigarette that I was smoking and how it really felt. And when I did that, what I had to confront was the fact that the best cigarettes I had had in my life were the first cigarette of the day when I was in my late teens. And like at that age, man, your body is just this magical wonderland of possibility, right? It wakes up every day. Even if you have a hangover, it only lasts for 10 minutes, just some greasy eggs and you're done. And everything feels great about the world. And that first cigarette of the day was it was literally intoxicating. And it never feels that good after that. And when I quit 14 years ago or whatever, 15 years ago, I had to confront that every cigarette did not taste good at all. It didn't feel good. It didn't taste good. I just was looking for that rush. I love the ritual. I love all the rituals around it. That was one of the things I was definitely addicted to. But another phrase that I heard that helped me was the trick is not to quit smoking. It's to become a non-smoker. And that's a kind of a mental framing that helped me put my brain in the right mindset. So the goal is that's a clever way of saying don't try and not do something. Try and do something, right? I'm not trying to achieve the negative, i.e. not smoking. I'm trying a positive to become a non-smoker, a new thing that doesn't include smoking. I can't believe there's footage of me smoking on camera. That's terrible. Let's see here. Sean Vidal says, you talk a lot about your impatience. Do you think ADHD is an issue or a positive asset in the maker world? I don't think of ADHD as being a positive or a negative asset. It is a thing. Let us consider ourselves as human beings the way we consider our characters when playing Dungeons and Dragons. Our character in Dungeons and Dragons has all of these facets and features to their character that will come into play as they interact with the world the Dungeon Master has set for them. when you're playing a character, you are not necessarily, you are just playing those things as they're dealt. You're playing those cards as they were dealt with you. Life is the same. So I'm pretty sure that if ADHD was a regular thing when I was a kid, that I would have been diagnosed with ADHD. I absolutely fit the profile. You know, there's plenty of studies to show that dyslexia can be a huge asset in certain fields of study because of the level of focus it lends to the people that I don't want to say suffer from it or afflicted by it, some of the people that have to deal with it, or some of the people that deal with that, right? All of this language you choose really matters. It's really important not to define these things as afflictions. And culturally, it's still really hard, right? You still have to think through it. But when you define them as afflictions or things that people suffer from, you're putting it in a whole category. And then that's this whole other thing that the person who has this issue has to deal with. And again, we all have our crap. If it's not ADHD, it's something else. Right? I mean, over the last year, I've gotten to know depression a fair bit. And I'm not someone who has been depressive in my life. And I have lots of friends who suffer from depression. And I've dealt with it. And I've gotten a lot of incredible love and support and information from them as you know, the COVID year has brought this out. Sean, I guess the thing that I want to point out is thinking of ADHD as a positive or negative asset, I think is still viewing the idea of ADHD and other things that fall into similar categories like autism spectrum disorder or dyslexia or other things. That is still the language of, is it good or is it bad? It just is. It just is. It's the water. The water each of us swims in is the water of all of the aspects of our personality. There's a great, God, what was it? There was a TV show many years ago with Andre Brower about cops in Baltimore. What was that show called? Anyway, in it at one point, a cop is talking to a friend and his friend is lying to him. And the cop says, "Am I a fish? All day long I swim in lies." And it's a great phrase. And what the cop is saying to his friend is, I know you're lying to me because everyone lies to me all day long and it's all that I see. I can tell that you are lying to me. I'm not sure cops have the perfect, in fact, studies have shown that they don't have perfect lie detectors in their eyes and brains. However, for the purposes of this little vignette, I love that idea. All day long, I swim in lies. We all swim in the water of the full confluence of our personalities. And some of those things serve us, some of them don't. Many of them serve us in certain situations and hinder us in others. Everything that's a boon could also, everything that is an asset could also be a detriment. There is no essentially good personality traits and essentially bad personality traits. Is that really true? I haven't thought through that one, so I'm not sure I'm going to state that absolutely. But let's just say I don't like the idea of thinking of certain aspects of each person's intersection of the world as essentially good or essentially bad. They just are. And it's really good for us to understand them and to talk about them so that we can deal with them. Honestly, I knew about autism spectrum disorder and all the, what do you call it? All the satellite things around that. But it wasn't until Mythbusters where people on the spectrum really glommed on to the show and came to our appearances and came to our shows to such a degree that actually whenever I tour, my production team meets with the house in every theater I go to talk about the fact that a significant portion of the audience that's coming is going to be on the spectrum. And they inform the house what that means. Some of these folks are going to seem aggressive and they're not being aggressive. You have to understand that their intersection with the world is a little different. And here's how it's different. And here's how you can respond. That has been an incredible education to me in the full sweeping scope of all of the different conditions we all have in our upbringing that brings us to the point that we are. Yeah, I don't think I have much more to add to that. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to go back to some of the earlier questions. Have you bought furniture for your home and then decided to improve it? If so, how annoyed has your significant other become over this habit? You're building a wrong narrative about how things go. With stuff for my house, I'm very, very circumspect and highly collaborative with my partner because we live in the same place. I don't unilaterally take things out of rotation and modify them without discussing with her. Why would I do that? That would be crazy. That being said, I have certainly taken pieces of furniture after we've discussed them and refinished them or repaired them or modified them in specific ways. I recently did a build, which we're going to put up in a couple of weeks, about something I built at the end of the year for the house. And in fact, I'm already planning on building another model of it because we both see improvements that could be made after living with this furniture for a while. So yeah, my partner, not at all. That just doesn't happen, right?